Live. All right, I'm live. All right, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the Saturday show. If you're watching this as a rerun, you can skip ahead about 20 minutes to the radio side of things. Just getting on here ahead early for people that need to hook up audio and make sure everything's hooked up, ready to go, and to answer any of your questions ahead of the game. And that's what I got to say about that. Representative Kelly Armstrong is going to be on the show today. Or at least I hope he calls in. Okay. That's the deal. Morning, Waylon. So I looked at that address he sent me. He moved from his original place, evidently, right? Because that's a different address than what I originally remembered him being at. Morning, Dave. Appreciate you tuning in from Minnesota. Josh, morning. The weather, how's it been going your way? How's the weather? Well, the weather's been okay. It's windy. Last night it got windy. It's really windy out right now. Got 30 hundredths of inch of rain here in the last week. Things are greening up nice. That's nice, I guess. But the wind today, ooh, yeah, last night and today, a little saucy. Mr. Bulgy, good morning. Good to have you along here this morning. If there's any questions you guys have for Kelly Armstrong, who is running for the North Dakota governor, please send them my way. Let's see here. South Dakota end up 47 cats taken. Okay. Nice. Morning, Brian. Half inch here in Bismarck at my place, 40 last night. Really good. Good. I'm glad some places are getting some moisture. It's kind of one of those things. It's usually kind of dry where I live. It's a guy, by the way. Sky Bulgy Kelly is a guy. Carbon pipeline going in. So we're going to start off the whole thing right away like that, huh? Okay. All right. Why not? He wasn't there, really, Gene? I'll be damned. Huh. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how that works, Cam. How you do your representative job over in D.C. and campaign in the state that you want to run for governor in. I guess I'll ask him how the hell that works. All I know is I better set my phone system up here. I know he's going to be calling in. I got to keep an eye on that. He's supposed to be calling in. His folks, according to his people, said to my people, which is me, that he'll be calling me at right away in the morning here. I got to double check a couple things here, though. Oops. Make sure I got the number 888-932-5682. Yeah, that's the number that he's calling. Okay. All right. Sorry, I should have looked over the name. Kelly's a little closer. Yeah. That's why people should name their kids with like guy names or girl names, so there's no confusion. But now it seems like when people name their kids anymore, it's like they try to find I mean, I've seen Charlies that are girls. I've never met a girl that name was Scott yet. But like the names that like Kelly can go both ways. Uh, Shannon can go both ways. I'm sure there's plenty more. Taylor, right? Pat, Saturday Night Live throwback. Yeah, no doubt. Pat. Ask him if he will sign a bill that they did in Tennessee. Stop the chemtrails. Really? Which one was that in Tennessee? I didn't see that. Didn't Tennessee sign something? It was something else. What was it? Hmm. I know Daryl was talking about it last night a little bit at the bull sale. I wonder if, as governor, how much power they actually do have besides signing off and vetoing and stuff like that. I'd be curious to see that. Yuck. Yuck, 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 yuck. Yeah, it'd be interesting. All right. Let's see here. What's going on in the North Dakota side of things here today? Let's see here. Paddlefish says and fish challenge open. What's that? Okay. New this year. Anglers can choose to complete the rough fish challenge by catching a bullhead, carp, and sucker. Compete in last year's Sportfish Challenge by catching a bluegill, walleye, bass, and trout for the inaugural Classic Challenge. Okay. All right. Well, that's that. As of right now, I'm planning on seeing you at the Echo. Good. You coming up for Brandon? Good deal. That'll be nice. Tell me what job you are used to doing. So, do you know how to castrate a calf by not capping them, but slicing them? Morning, Karen. Thanks for having us on here at KOLY, Mobridge, the voice of Lake Oahe. Let's see. Deer lottery result. Deer application deadline is due June 5th. Mule deer survey has been complete, and that was a lot of fencing I had to do on that. 7.1 deer per square mile in the Badlands. Really? 1% higher than last year, but 4% below long term average. Interesting. As all we do is finish. Oh, you never been to branding? Okay, okay. Well, I'll find a job for you. Pretty simple. You sit back and enjoy good company and good people and wrestle calves. We rope and tail wrestle is what we do. And if that doesn't mean anything to you, we'll explain it to you. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. See, I'm nervous because I never ever have the guests call me. I always call them. So I hope, cross my fingers, it works here that they're going to call me. How old is Cash now? How old a kid do you have now, Waylon? Holy cow, what is he? He's got to be driving material right now, isn't he? Or better? I can't even keep up to date on this stuff. Is there going to be kids there tonight? Do you know? permit. Okay. So they must have changed the driving rules in North Dakota because we had our driver's license at 14. Not sure if there's going to be kids there tonight. Yeah. Well, I'll be on my worst behavior then because the kids around here usually have no problem with the parenting side of things, have no problem with how we discuss topics around this area. So we'll see. Other than that, what the hell is going on here? That's about it. So usually I have my guest on doing the pre-show right now. Not sure how it's going to go. I got somebody hacked into my email account the other day, and they were sending Dakota Western Bank spam through my email. And in like less than 60 seconds, there was like 500 emails sent from my account, which of course my company, they flagged my account. They're like, whoa, something's going on here. They shut it down. So they sent me an email that they shut it down, but I can't get into my email to see that it was shut down. I just couldn't get into my email. Kind of figured things out for myself. But when we got in there, I had to delete like 500 and some emails from them trying to send stuff. Crazy. Like these people make a full-time living just doing scams, right? It's terrible. Another brand new this morning, wet and cool morning. Yeah, good. Well, have a good one, Levi, because I had the single-handedly best day of roping on Wednesday. I was on something, things clicked, and it was ready to go. I mean, it was just fun when you can catch. I mean, I know how to build a loop. Don't get me wrong, because I do a lot of practice at that and a lot of brandings. But on Wednesday, for some reason, Levi, I was on fire. And it was one of those brandings. They're like, we need the pink tag one. And like 2 or 3 people missed, and I would catch it and bring it out. Now we need the green tag ones. And yeah, so it was fun. It's fun when you catch. It's kind of like fishing too, right? Doesn't matter if you're on fire or not. It's good stuff. All right, stations. Again, I'm hoping Representative Armstrong calls me up here. I think he will. I just get nervous watching the phone system here. And we'll do a countdown here. We're a minute and a half away, minute 20 away from top of the hour. I'll make sure to get a good countdown. And if anybody knows anybody with a, give me like a 70-some inch wide, 76-inch wide mower deck for lawn mowing would be nice. If you know of anybody with one of those, let me know. Okay. I'm tired of this 5-acre mowing a 48-inch mower deck on mine here. It's a pain in the butt. Come on, Kelly. 3 point. No, I need like a rider mower. Let's see what we got here. Hello, this is Scott.
Hey, it's Kelly.
Kelly, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good.
We're live on YouTube as a pre-show here this morning, so just to let you know.
Oh, no worries.
Cool, man. First time I ever had, I was just telling my listeners, I got a whole bunch of people following on YouTube right now. And I said, it's the first time I actually had somebody call into my show instead of me calling and setting them up because your guys would not let me have your number.
So, oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's nice of them, but I'll give you my number.
Well, I have your number. I mean, I'm the one that texted you, so I appreciate you getting back to me right away. That's cool. So
that is a very well, whatever.
Yeah.
God bless them for trying to protect me.
Absolutely.
But,
absolutely.
Not protect me, but like I have the same cell phone number as when I was a baseball coach in Dickinson.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's their job though, right? That's That's what they do. They line up your schedule and they set that up. That's not a problem. So.
Yeah.
Well, we got 5 minutes here before we start the radio side here. I'm going to do a countdown for the stations at 7:01, 8:01 Central Time stations, 8:01 coming up. And other than that, we'll just kind of BS here on YouTube until we start out here. But stations 7:01 Mountain Time, 8:01 Central Time on mark. That way they can see with the lag in the YouTube feed. So where are you at now, Kelly? Are you out in Washington or are you home here?
I actually had committed to helping do an event for one of my colleagues, and we were in Friday. We're in again on Monday, so I'm actually down in Oklahoma City for 36 hours to do. I committed long before I announced I was running for governor, but I keep my commitment, so we're still here.
Yeah.
So.
I agree. You got to keep the commitments. Got to help. A friend asked for help. You help him. I got Wayne Muth here. He says you should have Kelly come out for branding. I'm branding on the 31st.
Oh, God, I love branding.
Yeah. I'm running on the 31st of May, and Wayne Muth is having the Ranch America television crew from Outdoor Channel come out, and they're going to do a little spotlight on branding and how that works with the outdoor industry and all that. So there you go. Open invitation if you want, May 31st.
I will look at my calendar. I would almost guess I probably have a full day already that day.
I'm guessing so, yeah. It's be nice to actually talk to a governor that actually answers, phone calls from radio stations and shows that have been around for 20 years. That's nice.
Oh, it's so I did Guns in the 701. It might have been the funnest hour I've done as in politics doing it, because we talked obviously about Second Amendment policy, but it was just mostly kind of talking about, what we do in Western North Dakota.
It's a lot different too. Have you looked at any polls early on here and seen, is there any guesstimates and how this is going to turn out here or not?
There's only one poll that matters, is June 11th, but we like where we do. One of the weird things about, since I was state party chair in 2015, and even before that, one of the weird things is what you learn in politics. By the way, it doesn't matter if it's in North Dakota, it doesn't matter if it's in DC. A lot of people will sit around and have coffee and tell you what's going on, but if you don't go in the field and actually try and figure it out. But the other answer is polls are, just snapshots in time. So, we've done, 3 polls since three real polls, and then some brush fire polls since we started this, and mostly just to get a feel for what's going on at any given time. But like I said, when you're in a race, you have to pick one choice. Would you rather be you, or would you rather be your opponent? I've never woke up and thought I'd rather be my opponent.
There you go.
So,
well, good enough. I wish the best for you. I really do. Hopefully it all works out. And when you get in there, don't forget us small guys. At least give us a little bit of radio time once in a while, man.
Absolutely. One thing is, you get in these patterns of doing it, and the ones I do all the time. I just don't say no to anybody, but I actually talked to Roz, my chief/campaign manager, and I said, we're going to figure out, if we do more of them less. Because I've really enjoyed some of the ones that I did. They never, whenever you ask, we say yes, but it's almost easier if you get a regular time slot.
It is.
You just say once every 2 months, we're doing it at this day or whatever.
Right.
Try not to make me do it at 8 a.m. in the fall if it's at all possible. I'd probably hopefully be somewhere else on a Saturday.
Right. Exactly.
Unless I'm doing it from the field shooting pheasants.
Yeah. That's the problem with my show, being the only live show on Saturday morning on the outdoor side of things. 60 seconds of showtime, by the way, 60-second stations, is it's hunting season. And this year, both my wife and I finally drew our gratis elk tag. And so
fantastic.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm going to be. Did you really? Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
The timing couldn't have been worse.
It's still a draw, right? You still got it, so that's nice.
Yeah.
I'll keep an eye out. You're in the same unit I am.
3E1 or E3?
E3, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I used to run the world's least lucrative elk guiding operation in E4 and E3 for like a decade.
Oh, hold on. Stand by. We're starting here in 15 seconds. We're going to go quiet here. Sorry, Kelly. Stand by. Stations, 10 seconds of showtime. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Saturday edition of Dakota Prairie Outdoors. Heard all around the world on YouTube channel here. Thanks for tuning in at Dakota Prairie Outdoors Radio and across the Dakota Territory on great stations like KGFX in Pierre, South Dakota, KOLY in Mobridge, KFire 550 Bismarck, KCJB in Minot, and KLTC on the Western Edge in Dickinson. It's going to be a good day here today, and the reason I say that is we get a chance to meet up with Representative Kelly Armstrong, who is not only representing North Dakota in the U.S. on the federal side as a representative, but you are running for the North Dakota governor position this year. Good morning, Kelly Armstrong.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Scott.
I appreciate you being on here. Like I said before when we were doing the pre-show, not a lot of chances that people like to wake up on a Saturday morning and come on our live radio show and take calls and questions and comments from people. But you're from the western side of the state. You're ready for this stuff, aren't you?
I am. So it's actually funny. We had, just because of scheduling a little bit earlier last week, I flew out. I had to get up at 3:30 to fly out to D.C. because we had votes, and I was on the elevator coming back, and Democratic member of Congress from Massachusetts was on the elevator with me, and somebody asked me how I was doing, and I said I was tired. And they're like, "Why? You got up at 3:30?" And I said, "Yeah, if I get up," or I told them I got up at 3:30, and I said, "If I'm getting up at 3:30 in the morning, it better have horns on it."
Yeah,
and she had no idea what I meant, and so the guy I was talking to had to explain hunting.
So how does anybody in Washington, D.C., I mean, you remember back in the days where everybody was tied to agricultural in some form, right? And that was hunting. Everybody was tied to hunting in some form. Now things have really shifted. When you're out in DC, do people understand what hunting is and how important it is to the management of what we do in our lifestyle?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of this is red versus blue. You know, urban areas are getting bluer, rural areas are getting redder. So it's really, I mean, it's where they come from. And so the vast majority, I mean, I've been hunting with, members of Congress from South Carolina, North Carolina, obviously, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't take as much center stage some of those times as it normally would. But given the current state of affairs in DC, I'm not entirely sure that's a terrible thing. Yeah. Although any kind of real like conservation and land program, we know this in North Dakota has to factor in landowner rights. Otherwise, none of it works right.
How does that work with landowner rights in the national side? Are they looking at trying to squeeze us small guys out of here?
Well, I think on the landowner rights side, yeah, I mean, a lot of like particularly the Democrats' plans for conservation are, you know, perpetual easements, and I mean, in federal land, like no use instead of multi-use, and multi-use actually, you know, I always tell people the ranchers in western North Dakota have been doing carbon sequestration in grazing land for 200 years. They just didn't call it carbon sequestration. It just grew better grass.
Yeah, exactly.
It's called rotational grazing.
Yeah, exactly. And before that, it was the Native Americans. You know, they used to kind of graze buffalo in certain areas to use different grasses. You know, and it's been going on for years and years. But you want to get into carbon sequestration right away? Because I have somebody messaged me. They're like, ask him what he thinks about the carbon pipeline right away. So take it out. What do you think?
Well, I mean, sure. I mean, there's a landowner rights issue that exists right away. I mean, I think pipelines are the safest way to transport everything. I also I hate eminent domain with the fire of 1,000 suns. It is necessary for particular projects because utilitarian infrastructure is always unpopular locally, like clover leaves for highways and all of those different things. But I look at carbon sequestration more in a different way, and that is that I've spent 5 years in D.C. and I'll vote against what's called the production tax credit and the repower provision for renewables every single time the vote comes up. The problem is it's always going to get 218 votes, and it's always going to get 60 votes in the Senate. When you have places like Beulah, Hazen, Washford, Riverdale, Underwood, all of those different places that absolutely rely on Coal Creek, lignite coal production. And we have created a federal policy that we don't have the votes to get rid of, that allows wind and solar to sell electrons onto the grid, oftentimes cheaper than it costs to produce. We have to make sure that our guys have the ability to, actually compete, so the heat comes on in January when it's 70 degrees below zero wind chill.
The eminent domain is one thing that scares me the most, and when you talk about that, and certain things it's needed, like when you're talking water projects, or when it's life or death type stuff. But when the North and South Dakota have been in this carbon pipeline fight for quite a while now. I've had representatives down in the South Dakota side on with my show too, and saying the same thing. Pipelines are the safest way, but eminent domain is not the right way to go about this. And where are we going to still fight this eminent domain on the North and South Dakota side, both all the way through this thing?
Yeah, I have no doubt when the legislature comes in, there's going to be more legislation to introduce to deal with those things, and that's where you work with them. I get these questions a lot, and one of the things I always tell people is, when I was the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee in the North Dakota Senate, where the governor's opinion on my legislation was on my list of priorities?
Probably very.
It wasn't in the top. It wasn't in the top 10. So people, you run for governor, and I've tried to do it a little differently, I think, than some others in the past. Is like I don't write the law.
Right.
Like what I can do is work with the legislative body to say, hey, if we are doing this and if we are changing the law and dealing with that. And then the other answer, which is a whole different question, is even if you change the law, where are you at with people who have, whether you agree with the law or disagree with the law, where are you at with the people who have relied on the law as it was when they started investing their money? Because that's the other thing. Regardless of what the project is if you send signals to whatever business it is that you're going to just change the law every 2 years and they're going to be out whatever investment they have, that makes it really unattractive for anybody to come do this in North Dakota. We dealt with that a lot during the oil boom.
Yeah.
And all kinds of different projects. There were wind projects that had huge fights out there. There were waste disposal projects that had opposition, and they should. You can't just go build something in somebody's community and say we don't care what the community thinks. That's not how it works. You got to make sure you believe in local control and all of those things too.
What do you think about some of these wind turbine fields that have been putting in place? And right now, we have that transmission line running right across our ranch that's proposed here in the next few years too.
Yeah, well, transmission. I'm on the energy and commerce out here. Wherever it is, and I think transmission is probably a less political unless it's on your land. I understand that very, very much. But we need. Our transmission infrastructure in this country is really, really behind. I have a different take on wind and solar than a lot of different people, because not a different take. We don't talk about the economics of producing energy. So a lot of Republicans have switched to the all of the above, and I guess. But if wind gets above a certain percentage, like 27% on the MISO grid, it better go to 85% really quick.
Yeah.
Because once it gets to that level, we need our coal-fired electricity to make money in June, so we have it in January. And people, and when you give them primacy on the grid, you give them these tax credits, you give them all of these things, they choke out the economics of their competitor. For us, it's baseload power. So I don't particularly love wind and solar. I also recognize that they're part of the energy mix.
Right. But
I don't think they should be it's weather dependent power. If the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing and it's really, really cold out, we still need heat. So I think it's really important to make sure that we understand where they fit in the overall pie chart of the MISO grid and being able to provide reliable electricity. And I, quite frankly, think they're close to the top right now under current technology.
Kelly Armstrong is my guest. We'll be back right after these messages. Pfeiffer's Auction and Realty would like to invite you to their next round of auction sales coming up Wednesday, May 29th is the South Dakota Summer 2024 Equipment Auction out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Thursday, May 30th is the Blend Estate Auction out of New Salem. Tuesday, June 4th is an online-only auction of 140 acres in Kidder County. And June 4th also features 469 acres for sale in Adams County. For these sales plus many more and to bid with confidence, go to Pfeifers.com today.
Hi, this is Ben Rain from the Home Agency. We are living in some of the wildest weather and commodity markets in the history of the U.S., and there are federally subsidized programs to help you manage these risks. On 3 June at 5:30 p.m., we'll be hosting a meeting in Bowman, North Dakota at the Sweetwater Country Club to teach you how to use the pasture, rangeland, and forage and livestock risk protection policies in your operation. We will show you how we look at rainfall intervals and indexes and discuss the cattle markets. Also presenting will be Dr. Jennifer Young, the senior ruminant nutritionist from Ralco, discussing livestock nutrition. If you're interested in attending, you must RSVP with JC at 1-800-245-4241 as seating is limited. We look forward to seeing you there.
I'm Dale Paulke with Dakota Community Bank and Trust, your trusted partner in ag lending. With our deep understanding and appreciation for the Western way of life, we proudly accept, respect, and promote the values that define our community. Whether you're a farmer, rancher, or business owner, we are here to support your financial needs and help you thrive. Choose Dakota Community Bank and Trust for all your banking needs.
At Dakota Community Bank and Trust, that's what we do.
Equal housing lender.
Bowman Livestock Marketing, serving the tri-state area for all of your livestock marketing needs. Eastern Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota. You can be sure of great care for your cattle and top price at sale time. Call Austin Snook at 307-290-2161. That's 307-290-2161 for more information or just to talk cattle markets. You can also find them on Facebook and go to their website, bowmanlivestockmarketing.com. This portion of the program is brought to you by Freedom Repair. Whether it's a tractor, baler, your cutter, your combine, or air seeder, Freedom Repair comes to you and helps you get fixed up and back in the field. 19 plus years experience. Give Lucas Kelly a call at 701-440-1945. That's 701-440-1945. Freedom Repair, veteran owned and operated. Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy.
Hi, this is Ben Rain from the Home Agency. We are living in some of the wildest weather and commodity markets in the history of the U.S., and there are federally subsidized programs to help you manage these risks. On 3 June at 5:30 p.m., we'll be hosting a meeting in Bowman, North Dakota at the Sweetwater Country Club to teach you how to use the pasture, rangeland, and forage and livestock risk protection policies in your operation. We will show you how we look at rainfall intervals and indexes and discuss the cattle markets. Also presenting will be Dr. Jennifer Young, the senior ruminant nutritionist from Ralco, discussing livestock nutrition. If you're interested in attending, you must RSVP with JC at 1-800-245-4241 as seating is limited. We look forward to seeing you there.
MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Mo Rest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer.
Pfeiffer's Auction and Realty would like to invite you to their next round of auction sales coming up Wednesday, May 29th is the South Dakota Summer 2024 Equipment Auction out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Thursday, May 30th is the Blend Estate Auction out of New Salem. Tuesday, June 4th is an online-only auction of 140 acres, and June 4th also features 469 acres for sale in Adams County. For these sales plus many more and to bid with confidence, go to Pfeifers.com today.
On that road, don't you worry, one day I'll settle down. And when that time comes, I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Dakota Prairie Outdoors Saturday edition. Heard all across the Dakota Territory. Good to have you on all the stations. Been with me for nearly 2 decades now. As we have Representative Kelly Armstrong, who's going for the position of the North Dakota governor side of things here. Kelly, welcome back to the program. And let's jump right into a couple of questions I had as I serve on our local broadband company. I serve on the state, our political action committee as well. What's your take on rural cooperatives and what North Dakota is the leader in fiber optic in and around? I think North and South Dakota are the leading states in the nation right now. And a lot of people don't realize that it's rural cooperatives that are putting this in and not the big box stores. What's your position on some of this, especially the USF funding and all that?
Well, first of all, the last mile is always the most expensive. When you're delivering this stuff, you have to recognize that. From the DC side, one of the real frustrating parts about this is the money for this stuff is spread out in like 9 different agencies. The application process is slow and cumbersome. And through the course of all this got set up, some of it's in ag, some of it's in all of these different places. We've actually done Morgan Griffith, who's from Virginia, and they have real connectivity issues out there. We've done a couple oversight hearings in energy and commerce, and it's just fascinating. I mean, when you listen to these guys testify, you're just like, how much money are we wasting just because this money is in all these different agencies and the bureaucracy for it? I mean, we're $34.5 trillion in debt. We should probably figure out how to tighten some of that up to begin with. But if you're going to deploy federal money for something that is as important as rural broadband, make it easier to access and less bureaucratic, because you're also dealing with people like you just said. You're in rural America, co-ops, all of these different things. I mean, we don't have professional grant writers in Slope County or Stark County or Bowman County, and so you're trying to figure out how to access this money, and it's mind-numbingly frustrating.
So the biggest here's my biggest beef on this, right? So the money that we're using to do the Belfield project and build fiber optic out to the rest of Belfield, which has been underserved for so long, right? We're putting it in. We're putting it in the ground as we speak right now. It came through the USDA department for that grant, and we have to deal with a lot of federal land. And the Forest Service says, well, we have to, we'll try to help and get this sped up. But we're getting this grant money to put this, it's not really, we're paying percentage of it anyway back. It's kind of like an EQIP program, if people listening know what that means. Is, we have 2 years to finish this project, but the Forest Service says they're 5 years out on the NEPA study for us to go through. And it came out of the same office.
Well, that 100%. And that's the thing. And by the way, it's not just broadband. You talk about flaring, you talk about, road over, Lost Bridge. You have X number of years to use the money or you lose it. And the reason you can't put it in is because another federal agency won't give you the permit or the study. So one of the things we did do, and it still depends on who's in the White House, and it's really important. But like one agency call for permitting where because you don't care which agency in the federal government gives you the permit when you need a permit. You don't care who you're talking to, but there's no reason you should have to bounce from Interior to the Forest Service, to the Coast Guard, to the Secretary of Agriculture, to deal with stuff. You're getting money from one pot of federal money, and it's another federal agency saying you can't, you don't have the permit. So we got some really good language that is actually in law. When we did the debt ceiling bill on NEPA reform, it actually put the Trump era shot clocks back in place. We knew when we wrote it that this administration probably wasn't going to honor it in a meaningful way, but right. I'm always a believer in DC that if you get something into law, it's way easier to tighten it up than it is to actually get it into law. And so we worked really hard to do that, because that way, no matter who's president, that law at least stays the same. And we know we got to make it better and make it quicker. Because they don't make anything safer; they just make everything slower and more expensive.
Yeah. So, as somebody running for governor, put yourself in the governor's position here the next year. What's your take on the rural cooperatives, whether it's electric or broadband cooperatives?
We got to recognize that every time we ask them to do something, that they have to go to they have members, they have people that do all of these things. They've been absolutely essential. You just said it in the intro to this. There's a reason North Dakota is one of the best places. I mean, we still can do better. I want everybody connected in North Dakota. But one of the reasons for that, it isn't because of government. It's because of rural co-ops, and it's because of what they do, and it's because of how they know that stuff, and they know their communities, and they have people who really understand it. So the more we can empower them and make sure they have the resources to do it, the faster everybody's going to be connected.
Is that true? And not only that, but then people have the option of wanting to take it or not, because I mean, just because we run a fiber optic up to your house, it's not forcing you to take services, but it's there if you do need it. And a lot of people don't understand that there's some people out there, Kelly, they don't want it. They don't want the fast internet. They don't care about it. But I think their grandchildren will,
but
you know.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think, and that's perfectly fine, and I understand that, but I don't think 20 years from now in the U.S. economy, I think connectivity, although the other answer is I'm not entirely sure how connectivity will look 20 years from now. But if you don't have, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you're a brick and mortar store, it doesn't matter if you're in Bismarck or if you're in Region. If you're not participating in e-commerce, it's going to be pretty hard to sustain an economic portfolio that actually looks like your business can make money. So we want to make sure everybody has the option, and I'm with you. I think it's not very long. I mean, if my dad can use an iPad, anybody can.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, think about it. I always tell people the same thing. I said, remember when satellite dishes came out back in the 80s when you had a remote control that looked like a scene from Star Wars on it, man? I mean, they learned how to use those big old remotes. Now you can get everything on just a small, tiny remote. Be done.
Yeah, you know? I mean, whenever you like, I moved from Grand Forks to Dickinson to Bismarck and all of those different things. And every time you look at it, people want to talk about all the tech in their home. I'm like, I just want to get a pickup with roll down windows again that I don't have to worry about freezing up. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice to bring back a pickup with just the basics in it once again? Well, I tell you what,
when your car's froze up and frosted up, or you've gone through a river and you're trying to open it to see what the whitetail looks like 600 yards away, it's a pain, and you can always break it with the rolling window.
Yeah. When I was in college in Minot, I was working at a general trading company. It was a parts store. And I had a lady come in. She was from the Air Force Base, and she was trying to get something for her vehicle. And she said, it just wouldn't start this morning. It wouldn't start. I said, did you plug it in? And she looked at me. She said, I'm not stupid. It's not electric. It means something different to us up here in the upper Midwest than it does around the southern states, right? I mean,
it very much does, particularly if you got a diesel truck.
Yeah. Guns in the 701 are listening right now. He said, amen, Kelly. Basic vehicles, bring them back. Wouldn't that be nice?
It's a lot easy. Nothing's more frustrating than trying to shoot a coyote, not being like all of that. I asked somebody one time, can I get roll windows on my pickup? And they just laughed at me. And I'm like, I'm serious.
Well, now we're getting into the coyote shootings. You got to get out of the pickup. You got to get a shorter rifle so you can get out of the pickup faster. Yeah. That's the key on that one.
When you spend as much time out there hunting pheasants, grouse, partridge as I do, we found, actually on our place, we found a really good guy who's just been a great guy to work with that snares on our place, and that has really helped a lot.
Boy, howdy. There's another thing that we can start talking about. The second half of the program here, we can cover that because especially around our area, this region of North Dakota that I'm in the southwest corner, the coyote population is just exploded here, and we only have one guy that's trying to take care of a very, very large region. And, that's through the USDA funding, too. And we'll talk that. We'll got more coming up your way here, Kelly. So just stay with us. We're on our second break here, and we'll be back more here. Station's going to take this break a little bit earlier here as we start things out here. Kelly Armstrong is running for the governor of North Dakota. He's our current representative in the Washington, D.C. side of things. If you have questions or comments, feel free to call 888-932-5682. That, again, is 888-9-DAKOTA. When you call, you'll automatically be put on hold, and we'll get to your calls as quickly as possible. Second half of the program, we're covering not only talking about Endangered Species Acts and some other hunting and some other issues. Second Amendment stuff is all coming up your way. Once again, Kelly Armstrong's my guest. We'll be back after these messages. Pfeiffer's Auction and Realty would like to invite you to their next round of auction sales coming up Wednesday, May 29th is the South Dakota Summer 2024 Equipment Auction out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Thursday, May 30th is the Blend Estate Auction out of New Salem. Tuesday, June 4th is an online-only auction of 140 acres in Kidder County. And June 4th also features 469 acres for sale in Adams County. For these sales plus many more and to bid with confidence, go to Pfeifers.com today.
Hi, this is Ben Rain from the Home Agency. We are living in some of the wildest weather and commodity markets in the history of the U.S., and there are federally subsidized programs to help you manage these risks. On 3 June at 5:30 p.m., we'll be hosting a meeting in Bowman, North Dakota at the Sweetwater Country Club to teach you how to use the pasture, range, and forage and livestock risk protection policies in your operation. We will show you how we look at rainfall intervals and indexes and discuss the cattle markets. Also presenting will be Dr. Jennifer Young, the senior ruminant nutritionist from Ralco, discussing livestock nutrition. If you're interested in attending, you must RSVP with JC at 1-800-245-4241 as seating is limited. We look forward to seeing you there.
I'm Dale Paulke with Dakota Community Bank and Trust, your trusted partner in ag lending. With our deep understanding and appreciation for the Western way of life, we proudly accept, respect, and promote the values that define our community. Whether you're a farmer, rancher, or business owner, we are here to support your financial needs and help you thrive. Choose Dakota Community Bank and Trust for all your banking needs.
At Dakota Community Bank and Trust, that's what we do.
Equal housing lender.
Bowman Livestock Marketing, serving the tri-state area for all of your livestock marketing needs. Eastern Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota. You can be sure of great care for your cattle and top price at sale time. Call Austin Snook at 307-290-2161. That's 307-290-2161 for more information or just to talk cattle markets. You can also find them on Facebook and go to their website, bowmanlivestockmarketing.com. This portion of the program is brought to you by Freedom Repair. Whether it's a tractor, baler, your cutter, your combine, or air seeder, Freedom Repair comes to you and helps you get fixed up and back in the field. 19 plus years experience. Give Lucas Kelly a call at 701-440-1945. That's 701-440-1945. Freedom Repair, veteran-owned and operated. Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy.
Hi, this is Ben Rain from the Home Agency. We are living in some of the wildest weather and commodity markets in the history of the U.S., and there are federally subsidized programs to help you manage these risks. On 3 June at 5:30 p.m., we'll be hosting a meeting in Bowman, North Dakota at the Sweetwater Country Club to teach you how to use the pasture, range, and forage and livestock risk protection policies in your operation. We will show you how we look at rainfall intervals and indexes and discuss the cattle markets. Also presenting will be Dr. Jennifer Young, the senior ruminant nutritionist from Ralco, discussing livestock nutrition. If you're interested in attending, you must RSVP with JC at 1-800-245-4241 as seating is limited. We look forward to seeing you there.
MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Mo Rest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer.
Pfeiffer's Auction and Realty would like to invite you to their next round of auction sales coming up Wednesday, May 29th is the South Dakota Summer 2024 Equipment Auction out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Thursday, May 30th is the Blend Estate Auction out of New Salem. Tuesday, June 4th is an online-only auction of 140 acres in Kidder County. And June 4th also features 469 acres for sale in Adams County. For these sales plus many more and to bid with confidence, go to Pfeifers.com today.
On that road, but don't you worry, one day I'll settle down. And when that time comes, I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Saturday edition of Dakota Prairie Outdoors as we have Representative Kelly Armstrong, who is going to be on the ticket here for the governor of North Dakota here. Kelly, good morning. Welcome back to the second half of the program. Are you ready for some questions coming your way?
I always am.
All right. So first off, Endangered Species Act. What's happening with that? Especially, there's a lot of worrisome, especially for ranchers in the industry with Colorado and Wyoming. They're putting they're putting wolves out there. They're releasing more out in the areas. And then you see what it's done to decimated the elk hunting in Montana in certain spots. And the grizzly bears moving across. What's going on with the endangered species side of things that we can, as ranchers, kind of sit back and know are we going to be just pressured out of this, or is this something that we're going to have to deal with?
Well, first of all, we do a delisting. We did a delisting bill. The problem is even when we pass it, even if you could get it signed into law, and I have no idea if the administration would, you're going to end up in the environmental group litigation on that stuff. So I think the best thing looking forward on the Endangered Species Act is there's a case going to be in front of the U.S. Supreme Court this fall that I think is going to significantly roll back federal authority on these things, because it is terrible. And the problem is once you get them listed and introduced, getting them delisted anywhere turns into a 10-year process through litigation, Sierra Club, all of those different guys. So hopefully the best way is it never gets in there, or we can get it curbed on the front end. But it's everything, right? It's from the monarch butterfly to the sage grouse to all of those things. And we always talk about like development and all of those things, but the people who it hurts the most, the people ranching and farming in those areas.
Absolutely. Number to call in is 888-932-5682. That's 888-9-Dakota. Let's go to one of those callers here. Welcome, caller. You're on the line with Kelly Armstrong. What do you got to ask him today?
Good morning, Kelly and Scott. I'm going to veer off a little bit, but kind of stay on the ranching side of it. USDA come out with their animal identification, electronic identification rule that's been shoved down our throats. It's got 6 months until it actually goes into law. And Senator Rounds has a bill in the Senate, obviously, to basically block it. And, this is government overreach. They've had 2 comment periods on it, and they've been shot down both times. They're using it for disease traceability as an excuse, and we can already
That's not what they're using it for.
Well, that's their excuse. I said excuse.
No, that's their excuse. You and I know what they're really using it for.
Right. So, we need something in the House. We need somebody to stand up in the House of Representatives in the next 6 months. And I know Representative Hageman from Wyoming has taken a stand on it.
I was just going to bring her up. I was just going to bring her up. I work with her on it almost every day. I've talked to Larry Schnell a ton about it. The real place where I think we have a shot to get the language on Senator Rounds' bill is when we do the 2025 Ag Approps bill. We had the amendment. It lost last time on the Ag Approps. We're going to bring it back in again on the Ag Approps. I've been working really closely with Harriet. She's on Judiciary with me. We talk about it just about every day we have a hearing and figuring out what the best strategy to get rid of it is. Because not only that, they're making you all pay for it. And they slaughtered 40,000 cattle in Ireland. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, this is not just ranchers paying for it, because they're throwing this out as the government's going to give you $15 million, or going to give, the USDA is going to give $15 million. Well, $15 million isn't going to cover, jack, what on this deal. And so the whole everybody, this country's paying for it. The taxpayers are paying for it. And when we ask for, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you go to a stockyard, they're all going to have to do different equipment, modify their equipment. There's no uniformity to it. It's really, really bad policy, which means it should be done through Congress and not through the regulatory regime, which is what we were just talking about before. You're exactly right. It's terrible all the way around.
Right. And what I find hypocritical is we have some groups on a national level and even on our state level that think it's okay. But when we talk about country of origin labeling for our beef, which actually, if we had that, we don't need this regulation on domestic product. We need it on the imported side. I mean, we had an NCBA rep in his article come out and write and say, you know, it's going to be a foreign-born disease. So I have yet to see a tag that is good enough to prevent the disease. You know, it's a tracking device. But if you regulate the flow of imports, now you can prevent the disease. And if you have country of origin labeling on your beef and pork, you know, you're giving the consumer the choice. And I know we passed this other one, this truth and labeling bill, or whichever that one is, but it's a voluntary program, and they got it pushed off for 2 years. So in that time, it'll give, you know, the packers time to revisit everything, get grouped up, and kill that bill as well. I mean, there's a lot of common sense issues on these cattle deals that at Congress you guys could solve, but you gotta listen to actual ranchers, not big, how do I want to say it, organizations that don't represent them.
I agree with that, but I will also tell you one of the problems in DC, and it's not for us in our office or like Harriet's office or even in those issues. But when the national groups that represent everybody don't agree on the issue, it's really easy for members of Congress who don't have any of this in their district just to say, I'm not dealing with this until you guys get on the same page. And I just really briefly, we've been involved in, you know, because cool, M-Cool, WTA things, but we can't even get the administration to agree with us when we start hearing about safety issues on imported beef from, you know, like Brazil and all of this. And we try and push them as much as possible because we're like, you've got real problems down here and you've got real safety problems. At the same time, you're trying to make it more expensive for my guys in North Dakota. Well, what do you think is going to happen in the world market?
Exactly. So, you know, we could go on this all day. I know this is more of a hunting show today, and I appreciate you being on and taking my call, but you know, we just need someone, and I've been to DC. I didn't want to go. I went there in February. We actually met with one of your people. We tried having a meeting with you, but I guess you were called to the floor that day. And but it's really important that our representatives listen to the people on the ground. They're the ones that this affects, you know, and big organizations that get a lot of corporate membership, you know, they're padding their own pockets. You got to look at the grassroots guys.
And all the big guys are okay with more regulation because what it costs them in regulation, they make up for in market share because they can deal with it, and the smaller guys can't.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, that's one of the weirdest things in DC that I wasn't fully prepared for when I got there in 2018 is the fight between large, really big business and small business. And that doesn't matter if it's cattle farming or retail or anything. And it really is something that exists in a way that I think people would be really frustrated with if they knew more about it out there. No. Being pro-business and being pro-small business and family farm are two different things a lot of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Ron,
but, you know, we are a small business.
Yeah,
you know, and people forget about that. We are actually, and we're not a small business anymore. This thing is getting, you know, we're dealing with way more money now than we've ever dealt. I mean, and it's just changing hands. You know, we got a good market right now, but I would tell you that any rancher would look at you and say, we have a great market. Everybody's on edge because they've seen the rug get pulled out from under us before. And with our input costs where they're at, I mean, the new low isn't going to be won't break people, or the old low, I should say, won't break people. There will be a new low because everything else rises, and it's that way with any business. And I guess when we look at common sense legislation to solve some of this, all we always get from Congress is, well, let's throw a safety net on it. You know, let's put a subsidy over here. So if this happens, you know, we can give you some crumbs. We don't want crumbs. We don't want the safety net. If you fix those problems that we have on the market side, we will survive. We can benefit. We can compete with anybody on the world. Take the subsidies out, and I'm not a big farmer, but I would tell you, take the subsidies away from the big farmers. Let it be competition driven. Fix the market share, and let the chips fall. And we'll survive out here. We'll feed the world.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, the difference on subsidies is you can't feed a cow cash, and people don't. I mean, like we dealt with that in the drought when we had guys. I mean, whatever program they do, you chew up in transportation costs. When you have to go to Iowa to find hay, there's no program that the federal government has that makes that work. And you're exactly right on inputs, because the market will always go down, but inputs, once they go up, will never go back down to their original place ever again.
All right, Ron, thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
You bet. Thanks for the call. 888-932-5682 is the number to call in. And you can hear the passion in the voice right there, Kelly, about just what's going on the private landowner side of things here. And let's talk about that. You know, let's steer that, how ranching and farming and hunting all come together and work together in such a nice way. But there's always these organizations that are trying to break that up. And, how are you going to deal with that if you're governor of North Dakota? How are you going to deal with some of these outside organizations that are really trying to, make everybody fight amongst themselves? How do you go about that?
I think the first answer is get everybody who they're trying to make fight against themselves into a room together and say, don't fall for it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know how hard that is,
don't fall for it.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But I mean, lucky for me, I'm used to dealing with people who are passionate about stuff. But I mean, the premise you always start from it's the landowner's land. Yeah. That's where you start. And the best single stewards of our land in North Dakota are farmers and ranchers. And we all know this, whether it's out of state, whether it's everybody. What nobody wants to hear from is somebody who spends 2 weekends a year in Southwest North Dakota telling us how to live every other weekend of the year. So, but the other answer with hunting, and I mean, that always frustrates me, is about 95% of the people are good when they come. Yeah. It's the 5% that cause all the problems. And I mean, we've dealt with picking up trash, found poached deer. I mean, all of those things, and it gets really frustrating. And try to deal with those things. But when it comes to conservation, when it comes to making sure people have access to whitetail, mule deer, grouse, pheasants, partridge, none of those programs work in North Dakota unless I got landowner buy-in. Exactly. And if I don't have landowner buy-in, then it doesn't matter what else you're doing. If the landowners aren't bought into the program, then we're never going to have more access for more kids. And that's really what I want.
Another thing to look at is some of these programs that are available to farmers and ranchers from different agencies. What scares me is if you look at some of the sponsors of them, they're anti-ag and anti-hunting sponsors that are giving you so-called, and I'm doing air quotes on the radio, money to, better your property. But it's money coming from these anti-organizations. That's kind of scary to me on that side, because I look into all these, anything that's coming up. It says, well, we can help you with this program. And I look who the actual sponsors are. Why are they taking money from anti-hunting and anti-agricultural people to try to help agricultural people?
Well, there's three groups, right? I mean, there's essentially three groups that play in this space. There's the federal government, the state government, and non-government organizations. Yeah. So to anybody listening, my answer would be, if it's a non-government organization, do your research before you sign anything. Make sure you actually fully understand it. From the federal side, what we've really tried to figure out, and I mean, we get a lot of support on our side of the aisle, less so on the other side, is giving. I mean, I always use CRP as an example. We just tried to get them to give us the new grass, because after 7 years, the brome grass choked out every other. I mean, we had great CRP, great conservation, great for whitetails, great for pheasants. And then after the flowering grasses went away, of course, it's no longer nesting habitat. We didn't want any money. We didn't want anything. We just wanted the ability to, till it up and replant it so it would go back to the diverse mix in there instead of the one grass in there. Yeah. And it really, I mean, it was just so mind-numbingly frustrating we got out of it. So from the federal side, the more you can give local control and state control to run those programs, the better you're going to be. From the state side, it's a little easier. State regulation can always be more dynamic. And again, it goes back to making sure you are flexible enough to do what the program is supposed to do and not get bogged down in the bureaucracy.
So put yourself, say everything goes your way and you get into that governor's position of North Dakota. First off, my first question is, what made you want to run for governor of North Dakota? And second, what are some of the things that you're looking at doing differently?
I mean, being in Congress, being the only voice in Congress for North Dakota has been the greatest privilege of my life. But I go to DC because I have to, not because I want to.
Yeah.
And I'm, just to be honest, sick of far too many of my colleagues caring more about how many social media clicks they get than actually solving problems.
Really? Wow.
And I mean, coming home and dealing with these things. And, you know, I miss having the ability to, do your job and then be able to sneak out and shoot, a limited ducks or something. I mean, now that I'm in Bismarck, that kind of stuff. But also, I just think, the challenges North Dakota faces: housing, workforce, landowner rights. What ag and energy, which are number one and two drivers of our economy, how we deal with the pressures that are going to exist for the next 25 years. I think I've been in every fight that matters in DC, but the people who are winning them are states. Texas won a case against the federal government at the Supreme Court. Florida's been good at it. Louisiana's been good at it. Missouri's been good at it. New York's going to win. They're going to win a Second Amendment case at the Supreme Court. So we have a unique opportunity right now, and I think I have a unique skill set to really figure out the best pressure points to push back against federal regulation, which, to be quite honest, doesn't matter if you're an ag and energy or a small business. That's the number one threat you face right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and you see a lot of folks are moving to the Midwest here. They're getting out of the California side of things, and they're like, we don't, especially during the COVID years, seen a lot of influx of people coming in. What do you are these guys going to be in the future as residents of North and South Dakota? Are they going to start causing some issues and bringing in some outside ideas?
Well, I think you've seen that in some places, and I think you've seen it in others. Like, if everybody makes fun of Western Montana, right? They call it Eastern California, but That's not really true. We elect a Republican. It's a Congress in Western Montana, and it's about half and half. But, this is it, right? North Dakota is going to continue to grow. We have a lot of natural resources, our best resources. Quite frankly, in a high school senior class going through graduation this week. But we got to make sure we do it our way.
Yeah.
Like, our future is not going to be driven by investment bankers in New York or, brokers in San Francisco. How we do this has to be done the way we have, because we can never lose what makes this place so special. And it's why you do the show every Saturday. It's because you can hunt a fish. I always tell people, but I tell them quietly, North Dakota is the best mixed bag outdoor state in the country. You can do everything here, and you can do it well. And that is something that just really matters to me. It doesn't matter to me it matters to me at a political level, but it matters to me at a personal level. My favorite thing in the world, I'm not as mad at pheasants as I used to be, but if we can go shoot 9 pheasants with my dad and my son, I can't think of a better day I could ever have than that.
I agree with you. The best day hunting is just it's a great time here. So I got a text before we get toward the end of the program. We got about 60 seconds here, Kelly, for the radio side. Text comes in and says, I keep telling people that Kelly is a genuine guy, and he's proving it again today on the radio. So there's people sending their support for you that way too.
Well, I appreciate that. That's one thing. You're not always going to agree with me. I don't know. That's the thing about politics. But the one thing is if you disagree with me, please reach out. I will tell you why I did what I did. I'm not going to convince you. I'm not necessarily trying to convince you I'm right and you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong. I just want you to know I thought about it, and I've actually really given it a substantial policy. We have to get to the point where, people have lost faith in their government, and I want to bring that back.
Absolutely. Kelly, we're at the end of our program. Thanks for coming on. Stay with me on the phone side of things. Kelly Armstrong, running for governor, North Dakota. We'll see how that goes. Thanks for tuning in today. Eat some meat, drink some milk, wear fur and wool. Thanks for having a great Saturday on this station. All right, stations, thank you. Kelly, we're still live on YouTube here for a little bit, and I just want to tell you thank you so much for coming on and making time for me and taking calls like that.
Absolutely.
Here's the thing. I've tried to do it with other people, and they make me send a scripted letter of what we're talking about. I never do that. I never know what I'm going to talk about until I start having a conversation with somebody. And that's just how I run my radio program. So thank you.
I have never, the only person I ever did that with was one guy. And and he's a good friend of mine, Chris Berg, but he'd bring me in to do, while I was in DC, I'd do an interview and he'd be like, hey, did you see what was on Twitter half hour ago? I'm like, no, Chris, I didn't. I was in a judiciary hearing.
Yeah.
So I've never asked for scripts. I think, quite frankly, when you do that, then your answers sound like a politician and people don't know your honest response.
Right. Right. And taking a call with Ron here, and we're still on YouTube, by the way. So people on YouTube, thanks for sticking with us here. But, when Ron called in and switched it over to the egg side of things, you knew those.
I'm just glad it was something.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just glad it was a subject matter. I mean, we've been really working on that. We're trying to get an antitrust hearing on it. We're not entirely sure we have jurisdiction, but Thomas Massey is the chair of the antitrust committee, so it would be a good hearing. I mean, these trying to get more people to pay attention, because everybody just thinks everything is moving into the tech space and everything's okay, but these e-tabs or tags are really bad thing for North Dakota farmers, or for North Dakota ranchers, really bad. And it's been fun to work with Harriet because she is adamantly opposed to them, and she can get real fired up real fast.
Yeah, I don't know why they want to keep track of us like they want to, but it's just, I don't know. Sometimes, man,
I know exactly why.
Why is that?
They slaughtered 40,000 cows in Ireland because of climate change.
What?
I mean, the zealotry that exists in that space is fascinating. I mean, and this is all about tracking and all doing that, all of those things. It's about it. And I mean, they're always going to say it's safety. They're always going to say it's safety. But the other answer is we have the safest, cheapest food supply in the history of the world right now. Why would we make it more expensive? What's the reasoning for it? And the reasoning is they want to know where every single cow is in the country at all times.
Here's a question. Darren Munn says, does Kelly think North Dakota Game and Fish has too much power for some of their nonsense that they are trying to push through?
I think that for a lot of things with the Game and Fish it's going to be nice, I think, for you all to know somebody that lives, eats, and breathes this stuff on a daily basis is going to have, if and when I win, some oversight over the Game and Fish.
Yeah. That's a good way.
By the way, it's anybody, and it's unique, right? I've dealt with the Game and Fish my whole life as a landowner, as a lawyer, as a state legislator, and I mean they have a really tough job, and but they also, I mean, we have to be communicating better, and we have to be listening to people better, and that's going to be a two-way street too. I want to do listening sessions, but I'm going to beg people not to come in and just scream at people for an hour and a half.
Yeah, exactly.
But if anybody in my administration says we'll look into that and get back to you, and they don't look into it and get back to you, they're going to have. It's one thing if they're going to have a problem with a rancher in Southwest North Dakota. They're going to have a problem with their boss.
Yeah, and hold them accountable for that.
Yeah. I mean, and there's things. I mean, there's things they do really, really well. There's things we could do a lot better. And one of those things is ensuring that if you want to have a generational hunting and fishing culture in North Dakota, you better have landowners bought into that. Otherwise, you lose it. We don't have these huge tracts of federal land like Wyoming and Utah and Montana. We want to keep getting more kids into hunting, and we want to make sure this awesome heritage is preserved, we better be working with landowners, because otherwise we're choking out a bunch of people who might want to do it.
Amen to that. Yeah, Darren says thank you for your comment on it. So he's listening on YouTube right now, so appreciate that. Yeah, well, I tell you what, Kelly, I know you're a busy guy. You got a lot of things going on, and I just appreciate the hour time, and hopefully we can make this a regular type of situation.
Absolutely, and now I'm going to go do a national radio interview talking about hodling Merrick Garland and contempt. So
there you go.
This is much more fun than that, but that is also important
It
So
is
I
good.
appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, Kelly, have yourself a good day. Appreciate you.
Thanks.
You bet. Bye. All right, there you go. YouTube Nation. There you go. I'm going to have one more with you. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it. I'm fighting a summer cold. I am. I've lost a dog, hiked 19 miles to see if he got caught or trapped or something. And it was the first hard sweat on a cool day. So, well, I guess I'm going to leave you guys go. You guys have a good one, YouTube. Talk to you later. See you next Saturday. Some of you tonight.